All right, so good afternoon, wherever you are. I'm speaking from Nigeria, and so it's 12 noon, and it's another time of discussion with friends and participants likewise, wherever you are across the globe. Today, I will be talking about value. We've had several discussions on this platform. I've spoken about several things before now. And today I just deem it fit to talk about value. Value. What does it mean to be valuable? What does it mean for you to have value before people? Okay, how do you increase your value in the eyes of men and women out there who are watching you and seeing how you live your life? Now, earlier on, at the start of this whole program, I tried to describe or define what leadership is. And I defined leadership as influence, just influence. It's a brief definition, but it captures the entire picture of what leadership is all about. So, if leadership is influence, I do know that you would want to increase your influence. The reason why there's a difference between leader A and leader B is because of the level of influence that they have over people. So, and one way to improve your influence, one way to increase your influence is to have value in the eyes of men, to have value in society, to have value in whatsoever you do. So I welcome you to this day's broadcast, and I would appreciate if you spend your time with me. Again, you may think it's a waste of data or that's hanging around with me, but I would say to you clearly that you would enjoy this session if only you would agree to go with me to consider creating and maintaining our value. Now, permit me to do a little change of what I have on the screen. You may see on the screen creating and maintaining healthy relationships. Actually, that was the topic for last week. So today, we're going to be talking about having value, value in the eyes of people, and having value in around what you do. So let me begin by saying that your value determines your worth. Your value determines your worth. If you are not valuable, then you will not be worth anything. If you are not valuable, you will not be worth anything. So your value determines your worth. Now, for you to do that, there are several laws that guide and teach us how to increase our value, how to maintain value, how to increase value. Okay? So for those of you who are online with me at the moment, I appreciate you for coming online. And I would please request that you share this broadcast with friends, you do a watch party so that many more persons can come online and understand what we're talking about. More so, in addition to this, please send in your comments and your questions, your responses to the things I'll be talking about, so I can know you're following me, and then I can also respond to some issues that may be raised. Okay? So, like I usually say, if you ask a question and I know the answer, I will respond immediately. If it's a question that I do not have an answer immediately, I could throw it back to those watching at us and expect someone to respond to whatever questions that you have. So, like I said, today we're looking at value, and I'm stating that there are laws guiding value. Okay? The first thing we must note is that if you do not have value. You are not worth anything. Okay? In the eyes of men, in the eyes of society, your value determines your worth. The reason why the world talks so much about Nelson Mandela is because of the fact that he had so much great value. He had so much great value. The reason why all blacks in the United States of America followed Martin Luther King Jr., regardless of their states or their communities, was because Martin Luther King Jr. had great value in their eyes. Okay, he had great value in their eyes. With the recent events in the United States of America, demonstrations are ongoing because of the way that the police have constantly treated black people in America. Okay, you would realize that those who are leading those demonstrations and riots are those who have great value in the eyes of those who are following them behind. Okay, in the eyes of those who are following them behind. So your value determines your worth. Your value determines your worth. Now, to be able to then build up and increase your worth, let's look at some of the laws that guide the issue of value. Number one is that every one of us, every human being, has one skill or the other. Every human being, it is impossible for you to have been born without a skill. Now, I reckon that a number of people may not have recognized what their skills are, may not have identified what their skills are. But I can say this to you, that every human being was born with a skill, with an ability, with a talent. Okay? The idea of education is to help you identify your skills and your talents and to enable you to refine your skills and your talent. Okay? The second law is that your value is your difference and it creates your reward. Your value, your skill, your ability is the difference, and the skill and ability determines your reward. Okay? And of course, your reward is dependent on how well you have sharpened your skills and your ability. The reason why Michael Jackson broke away from the Jackson 5 and sang so well was because, one, he identified his singing skills. Secondly, he refined his singing skills, and that made the difference between Michael Jackson and Tito Jackson. That made the difference between Michael Jackson and the other Jackson. Okay? Because Michael Jackson quickly and immediately identified his skill, improved upon his skill, and that determined his reward. The reason why Michael Jordan, the reason why Kanu Nwankwo, the reason why JJ Okocha, the reason why Cristiano Ronaldo are skillful or known for their gifts, okay, is because they identified their skills from the onset, they've refined their skills, and their skills determines the reward that they have. Okay? A lot of them are living good lives today, basically because they refine their skills, they refine their abilities, and they use these abilities for the good of mankind and for their own good eventually. Okay? Number three is that men are rewarded based on how they have refined their values. When Michael Jordan played basketball, there were so many other basketballers, but he so refined his value that he stood out from the crowd. And because he stood out from the crowd, it was basically necessary that he was rewarded the way that he was rewarded. Michael Jordan made so much name, and beyond name, he made so much money playing basketball. Lionel Messi has remained in Barcelona for years upon years. The reason is that they identified his reward, his value. They are willing to reward him to any amount that he demands or requires of them. Okay? The reason why you have outstanding lawyers is the fact that these lawyers have identified their skills and abilities in becoming lawyers. They have so refined their skills and abilities, and this refining has determined the kind of rewards that they get. Ben Carson stood out as a neurosurgeon. There were so many other neurosurgeons in his time, or at the time he was practicing. The thing that made the difference for him was that he refined his skills, he refined his abilities such that regardless of your religion, regardless of your mentality, regardless of your wealth, anytime you had neurosurgical issues, you needed Ben Carson to be there to help out. Okay? So men are rewarded by how well they have refined their skills, by how well they have refined their values. Again, remember, I began by saying that every one of us, no matter how you feel about yourself, no matter how you think about yourself, every one of us was born with a skill. There is not a single individual that has been created that was created without a skill. The unfortunate thing is that we haven't all discovered our skills and our talents. We haven't all identified our skills. And of course, especially in this part of the world, while we were growing up, every parent wanted his child to be a lawyer, to be a doctor, to be a nurse, to be an engineer. Okay? And so we were all crowded in that direction. Unfortunately, we were not given the time and the ability to identify our skills. We were not given the space to know what we were given birth for. Okay? And that has muddled up the minds of so many other persons. Now, because of that, we have grown up thinking that we do not have skills. That's not true. That's not correct. Every one of us was created with a particular skill. And the more you refine your skills, the better a person you become. The more you refine your skills, the better of an individual you will become. Now, we must take note of that and must be willing to to refine our skills. We must be willing to make well our skills such that not long from now, the whole world will seek for us. Okay? The whole world seeks for crude oil. Okay? At the moment, the whole world seeks for crude oil. Now, the value of crude oil is completely different from refined oil. The value you pay for crude oil is lesser in comparison to the value that you pay for crude oil. And because of that, okay, because of that, a number of us do think that or do pay more rather for refined oil than we pay for crude oil. In fact, many of us have never seen crude oil. Many of us have never seen crude oil because we have no business with crude oil. Crude oil has no value to us. It is refined oil. It is the refined oil that makes or that improves our lives, that has great value to us. So people are rewarded by how well they have refined their value. Okay? By how well they have refined their value. Mike Murdoch says this. He says, your similarity decides your comfort. It is your difference that determines your reward. Your similarity decides your comfort or defines your comfort. It is your difference that grants you a reward. I shared the example of Michael Jordan. While he was playing basketball, he played with so many other persons, in fact, with his teammates. But because he took time to refine himself, because he took time to refine his skills and his abilities, he stood out and was clearly rewarded distinctly and differently from his teammates. From his teammates. Why? He took time to refine his gifts and his skills, his abilities. Okay? So Mike Murdoch says it is your similarity decides your comfort. Your similarity decides and defines your comfort. But your difference decides your reward. Your difference decides your reward. Okay? So if you want to be highly rewarded, you have got to be different. And if you want to be different, you have got to refine your skills. You have got to refine your abilities. There are so many architects out there, but it is those who have taken time to refine their architectural skills and abilities that come out to be highly paid or highly differentiated from the rest. Okay? Your skills needs refining, and reward comes by the level of refining that you put your skills through. Okay? So that should be that should rest in our hearts, that our rewards are determined by how well we have refined our skills and our ability. Now, one other rule is that your value decides who pursues you. Your value decides who pursues you. If we wanted, or if we had a football team and were asked to choose players right now in the world, most of us will most likely agree on at least two people: Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi. Most of the world, most of the teams will agree on those two players. Okay? Now, those two players have played in the best teams in the world. The best teams in the world. Cristiano Ronaldo has moved from Porto to Manchester United, from Manchester United to Real Madrid, which is considered the best team in the world. He's almost retiring. He's gone to Juventus, which is also a very good team. And in fact, Juventus had to pay over 100 million to be able to acquire an aging player, because he has got good market value, he has got skills. Good market value, he has got skills. Okay? So your value determines who seeks for you. There are players that can, there are players that teams break the bank to be able to get them. PSG, I'm sorry for those who, well, maybe you may not be interested in football, so sorry for my examples. They are just examples that readily come to mind. But PSG paid over 200 million euros to acquire a player. 200 million euros to acquire a single player. They were willing to break the bank to get that skill. They were willing to break the bank to get that ability to come play for them. Okay? So your value determines who seeks after you. And who pursues you decides your reward. Who pursues you decides the kind of reward that you are entitled to. Who pursues you, who seeks after you, determines the kind of reward that you will get. Today, John Maxwell is about the best leadership trainer in the world. There are some organizations that cannot hire him to teach even for 5 minutes. There are some organizations that cannot hire him. But the best of the best, Forbes 500 companies are seeking after him to get him to train them. Why? Because his value is extremely high. His value is exceptionally high. Miles Monroe always shared this story before he passed on, that he grew up sleeping on a bare floor. Okay? He grew up in a 2-bedroom apartment where one bedroom was left for his parents, the other bedroom was left for his sisters, and then the other spaces available in the house was left for the boys who scrambled and found anywhere to sleep. But because he knew and identified the reward that comes with value, he so developed himself, so highly developed himself, that in fact, he had a private jet. He grew to the point where he traveled everywhere in the world. Everywhere in the world. He got to the point where if you paid him 25,000 US dollars for a seminar, he just maybe granted you a bit of a favor to be able to receive that amount. That's how valuable he became. And the people who sought after him rewarded him greatly. Some of us, mere men, are seeking after us. That's your value. There are others that are being sought after by kings. That's their value. And excuse me, it is your skills that open doors for you before kings, before wealthy men. And whoever seeks after you determines your value. Determines your value. How then, if this is the case, how then do you improve your value? How then do you increase in value? Now, Miles Monroe had this to say. Okay? Had this to say. It says to be successful, seek to become a person of value. In other words, for you to be successful, you do not really need to seek after success. Just simply increase your value. And by increasing your value, you become someone who is not only valuable, but someone who is so worthy and people are seeking after you. Okay? So to be successful, all you need to do is to improve your value, to increase your value. Once you increase your value, success will come after you. Success is not something you should be running after. It is not something you should be pursuing. It should be something that pursues after you. Once again, thank you for those who are online, and thank you for your comments. Let me read a few comments and then we'll proceed from this point. Ayuba Barros says, very good one, sir. Thank you. Very enriching. Shafraga Josiah, thank you for joining me. He says, knowing one's skills, worth, and value make one to excel in any good thing he or she is doing. God bless your ministry, sir. Thank you. My friend, John Biggs, just sends a thumbs up, and I thank you and I appreciate you for the thumbs up that you are sending. So just keep your comments coming. If you have questions, please, if you have questions, just send them through the comment section. I can go through the questions and then try to respond to you as I go through this. Now, to become a person of value, you have to be rare. You have to be unique. To become a person of value, you have to be very rare. You have to be very unique. Just as gold diamonds are expensive and highly valuable. So can you be if you become unique. You do not find oil everywhere in the world. There are particular nations that have been blessed to have oil under their soil. You cannot find gold everywhere in the world. You cannot find diamonds. In fact, there are very few countries in the world that have diamonds. Because these stones are precious, these stones are unique. The whole world is scrambling to get them. They are stones, but they are rare stones, very unique stones. And because that is their case, the whole world seems to be running after them, seems to be running after gold, to be able to hold on to a piece of gold. When a lady gets gold as part of her trinket, she does not keep it on the table just anyhow. She hides it. She tucks it away. Why? Because it is unique. It is different. It looks like every other metal, but it is unique. It has great value. So for you to have great value, you have to be exceptionally unique. You have to be exceptionally unique. Successful people are always inevitably valuable people. And they are valuable people because they are always unique. There is a wide world of difference between them. There are musicians and there are musicians. Michael Jackson set a high standard for musicians. He was unique. Michael Jordan played basketball in the most unique manner. There are moves that Michael Jordan did, and up till today, you find it difficult for anyone to replicate those moves. He's unique. There are companies that are quite unique companies. They have reigned for years, hundreds of years. They are not replaceable. Why? Because they are highly unique. There are substances, there are products that have not gotten replacements already. Why? Because they are unique. They make a whole world of difference when you get them. And so if you want to be valuable, a person of value, you must be someone who is rare, you must be someone who is unique. Excuse me. Now, how do you become unique? These are some of the things that we're going to be looking at in the next few minutes. How do you become unique? The first thing is to identify your gift, to identify your skills. You cannot refine what you have not found. You cannot refine what you have not found. So the first thing is to identify your skills, is to identify your abilities, is to even identify your purpose in life. 2-3 weeks ago, I did a teaching about finding your purpose. Go to YouTube on Born to Lead account, Born to Lead. You would see that teaching on purpose, how to identify your purpose in life. Unless, of course, you identify your purpose, you're unable to identify your skills and your abilities. And unless you are unable to identify your skills and your abilities, surely you will be unable to refine your skills and abilities. So the first thing to do is to identify your skills and your abilities. Muhammad Ali identified from the onset that he was meant to be a boxer. He trained so hard and refined that ability. But first, he discovered the fact that he was meant to be a boxer. So the first thing towards becoming a person of value is to identify your skills. Know the skills that you have. Of course, there are many of us who are multi-talented, but there is a skill in the multiple skills that you have that will be highly rewarded, there is a skill that you do with ease. Focus on that skill. We know of the popular English saying that jack of all trades, master of none. Yes, you may be multi-talented. You may want to spread forth and show your skills to all people. But excuse me, unless you know and identify a particular skill, you will not be able to do anything with that skill. So your first move is to do what? To identify your skill, to know your reason for being. Identify your skill. Now, having identified your skill, having known what your skill is, the next thing you've got to do is to refine the skill. Crude oil is useless unless it is refined. Mango fruits are useless unless they become ripe. Of course, they may have some other uses, but then for them to be sweet to the tongue, they've got to be ripe. Of course, when we were much younger, growing up on the military base, we went after mango fruits, whether they were green or ripe, we chewed them. Of course, the unripe one had sour taste. It had sour taste. You couldn't take many of the unripe mangoes, but we could take much more of the ripe mangoes. And that's what happens. If you have not refined your skill, people will come after you, but only for a short while. Only for a short while. Now, but if you refine your skill, they will come after you again and again and again and again and again and again. Every time that Michael Jackson released an album, people rushed after it. People were hardly tired with his music. And even in this age and time, there are people who still go back to listen to tracks or music that Michael Jackson had sung many years ago. So the first is for you to be valuable. First, you've got to identify your skills, your talents, your abilities. Secondly, you've got to refine your talents, your skills, and your abilities. To be a person of value, the third is to never leave anything, any place or anybody the way that you met them. Strive to make things better. Every time that you go into a place, seek out for how to improve the place. Seek out for how to make the place better. Every time that you meet somebody, determine in your heart that the person will leave a better person than when he or she first met you. It is better for you to make other people better because that makes you valuable. The reason why some politicians lose a second term when it comes to election is because they didn't make the place better than when they met it. Of course, there may be some other reasons, but the bottom line is the people didn't become better, the people didn't feel better when you were there. So to be a person of value, to increase value, you must leave places, you must leave people that you meet better than when you met them. So you must make a conscious decision daily to improve yourself, to improve the society where you live, to improve people that you come in contact with every day that you come into contact with people. That's how to become valuable. So besides knowing your skills, besides improving on your skill or refining your skill, you must also do what? You must leave people better than you met them. That's how to become valuable. That's how to improve on your society and your environment. The next, if you must be a person of value, is for you to do something extra. Something extra. People of value, people of high worth, never leave anything without doing something extra about it. In fact, I heard this saying one time that the difference between extraordinary people and ordinary people is in the extra. And I agree with that. It is in the extra. Whatever extra thing you need to do above what is mandated of you to do, please do it. Please do it. You may be a worker, a 9-to-5 worker, okay? Which is good. You go daily 9 to 5 and you're done. What you have done is you have done your regular job. When there is a need for promotion, nobody will single you out for promotion. But if you do something extra, say for example, because you're a 9-to-5 worker, if you go at 8 a.m. and commence working and close at 6 p.m., you have done something extra. When it comes to time for promotion, someone, and of course, as you do it, people are taking note. Someone will take note, someone will applaud you, someone will reward you for that. And remember, we said earlier on, your value determines your worth. A little extra work, a little extra smile, a little extra greeting will make you extraordinary. The difference between ordinary people and extraordinary people is in the extra. It's in the extra. An extra work will not kill you. An extra job will not kill you. Improving something by a little extra will not break you. So, to be a person of value, you have got to do something a little extra above what is regulated or what is mandated of you to do. If you're a security man in a house, okay, do a little beyond opening, closing the gates and staying up late, okay? You may wash the cars. You may wash the cars of the occupants within. That will give you a little extra edge above any other person that seeks your job. If you're a wife, do something extra. If you're a husband, do something extra. If you're a footballer, while others come to training at 9 a.m., come at 7 a.m. and begin training, and do not leave when others leave. Leave some time extra. In fact, I know for a fact that what makes Cristiano Ronaldo different from so many other footballers is that even after training, Cristiano Ronaldo spends 2 to 3 hours more in the gym building himself up. No wonder at age 33, 34, he said that he still has the strength and the pace of a 27-year-old person. Why? Because he usually does something extra. You may be a police officer, okay? Do something extra. Take an extra step beyond what is required of you or mandated of you at any point in time to do. Remember, the difference between extraordinary people and ordinary people is in the extra. And that comes because the extraordinary people do something extra. They go beyond the ordinary. And if you must be someone who is valuable, you must do something extra. If you are a student, read extra. I remember when I was in secondary school and I needed to write WIAC, of course, for the second time. I played with friends in the daytime, but at night time, I went in In fact, even my family members then didn't know that I waited for everyone to sleep and I got up and read. I read for between 4 to 5 hours every night. And when I wrote the exam and the results came out, the results were exceptionally good. So if you are a student, read extra. If you are a musician, there are so many musicians out there doing the same thing that you are doing, but you require to do something extra to place you above board. So to be someone of value, to have great value in the eyes of people, you have got to do a little extra. Remember, we say that, or I mentioned earlier on, and I said that for you to be a person of value, number one, you have got to know your skills, identify your skills. Number two, you have got to refine your skills. Number three, you have got to make things better than you met them. Make people better than you met them. Make families better than you when you came to them. The fourth is to do a little extra. There are things that are required of us on a daily basis, but we must do a little extra to make the difference between ourselves and other people. Okay? The fourth is to always look for the good in people. saying, I'm sorry I had to, there was a little break of and translation. I don't know what happened, but I'm back, and thank you for the opportunity to be back with us. Now, I was saying that for you to be a person of great value, you have got to do something extra. You have got to make a little difference, or you've got to be a great difference in the life of people. Now, while I was off, I think a friend of mine, Samuel Atabo, came up with a lengthy write-up. So I'll just try to read a part of the write-up and see how it connects with what we're doing. But be mindful of the fact that I said for you to be able to gain your value, or for you to be able to be a person of value, you must first of all identify your skills. Then you must refine these skills. And in refining these skills, you've got to also determine consciously to make people, to make environments better than you met them. Then the fourth is for you to do something extra above what is mandated, what is required of you at any point in time to so do. Now, if that be your case, I'm sure that people out there will appreciate you for what you're doing. Now, Samuel Chaba Atabo wrote, coaching, not directing. A great leader is a teacher and a coach, not a dictator, of course. They help their teams develop and grow and support them by providing training in various forms. Well, I agree with you, Samuel. This is quite a bit lengthy. I will not be able to go through all, but I agree with you that there's a difference between a leader and a dictator or a director or a manager. Okay, at some point we'll discuss all of these as I go on with my broadcast. But today we're looking at becoming a person of value. And one of the things that we mentioned earlier on is the fact that, or some of the things that we've mentioned before, is the fact that for you to be a person of value, you have got to do something extra beyond what people require of you. And the next I was pointing out is that you must always look out for the good. You must always look out for the good of other people above your own good. Okay? We must see people for what they are. A leadership without people is no leadership. An organization without people is no organization. All right? So we must see people for who they are, and we must do good to them at all times. We must make effort to enhance their being better persons. Okay? One other way to be a person of value is to specialize. To specialize. Once you have identified your skills, okay? Once you have also refined your skills, you must, after refining your skills, specialize in your skills. Specialize in your skills. There are lawyers who are specialized in the field of oil and mining. There are those who are specialized in criminal law. There are those who are specialized in company law. There are those who are specialized in other aspects of law. There are those who also, those also who have determined to broaden their perspective, to broaden their areas of concentration. Now, the fact is that those who broaden their areas of concentration usually do not become as valuable as those who have specialized in a skill or in a particular area of expertise. Okay? I mentioned Ben Carson earlier on. He started as a medical doctor, but he specialized in neurosurgery. That was the area of his specialization. He concentrated on being a neurosurgeon so well that he became like the household name as far as neurosurgery was concerned. As far as neurosurgery is concerned, Ben Carson can speak about neurosurgery to the extent that many will have to keep quiet. Many will have no choice but to keep quiet. That's how to become a person of value. You have got to be specialized. Do not pour out all your strength, all your energy on everything that everything and anything that comes your way. No, in that way you will not be a person of value. If you want to be a teacher at a particular subject and specialize so well on that subject that nobody comes around to teach you anything different. So for you to be a person of value, you have got to specialize. And Miles Monroe teaches us certain things as to how to become specialized in particular areas of your skills. And he tries to describe it or tries to define it just like a fruit or a tree. Okay? And these are the things that he mentions, and I'll just mention them quickly as we try to round up this discussion. The first is that he said your seed rather, must be in the right environment. Your seed must be in the right environment. In other words, where you plant yourself, the people that you plant around you must be right for your skills. If you want to specialize in a skill, say you want to be a specialized lawyer, then you go and hang out with medical doctors. The tendency is that you will lose focus on what you are supposed to be doing. If you want to be a specialized footballer and you spend time with lawn tennis players, you're going to end up not knowing what you have called yourself to be. So your seeds must be at the right place, in the right environment. Again, it says you must learn to isolate yourself. Cut yourself off from all forms of distraction. I mentioned earlier on Cristiano Ronaldo. Cristiano Ronaldo does not only isolate himself, okay? After the general training, he spends extra 2-3 hours at the gym. Not only that, in his house, he has a gym, he has a football pitch where he trains. That's how to isolate yourself. Of course, no person can be an island on himself. Nobody can separate himself completely from all humans, but you've got to be able to isolate yourself in a way that you enhance your growth and develop your skills. Okay? Then he says this, you must learn to develop yourself. And how do you develop yourself? You develop yourself by reading books. You develop yourself by listening to teachings that will enhance your understanding of the skills that you want to develop. Make your car a mobile school. Instead of playing junks, instead of listening to all sorts of radio programs, listen to skills or to tapes, to CDs that will enhance your skills and ability. When you travel in your car, rather than wander away staring at things, play tapes, play CDs that will help you improve your knowledge, improve your understanding. Beyond that, the fourth is that you must die to self. Self-discipline, that's what I simply mean. Self-discipline. For you to be a person of value, you have got to show self-discipline. There are so many good things out there that seek your attention. There are so many seemingly good opportunities out there that are drawing you to them. But you must learn to die to self. You must learn to discipline yourself to distinguish between what opportunity is good and what opportunity is best. You must be able to distinguish between what opportunity is better and what opportunity is best for you if you want to develop your skills. So you must be able to die to self, self-discipline. The next is that you must learn to water your seed. Develop a program to help you in building up in your seed. Attend seminars. Start programs that will pull people towards you. Those are ways to develop your skills and your abilities. Again, Miles Monroe suggests that you need sunshine. And what does it define when he says you need sunshine? He simply says you must have a good network. A good network. Nobody succeeds by himself. None. So you need a dose of good friends, good networks, good partners, good developers around you to help you develop your skills into something useful. The next is that it says you must prune yourself, which means you must cut off certain opportunities, you must cut off certain likes, all right? I like it when I see athletes who run. I watched a documentary on Usain Bolt, and I discovered that there were certain good foods, okay? Food that was good for every other person, but that was not good for him as an athlete. He loved taking those meals, but because he had a goal, he had a target ahead of him, what did he do? He cut off from those meals. You cannot be 100 meters runner and want to constantly take meat pie, want to constantly take shawarma and so on and so forth. No, those things will bloat you. They won't enhance your ability to run. So you must learn to prune yourself. Learn to cut off things that do not add value to you. Learn to cut off habits that will not add value to you. Reduce the time that you spend watching TV and use that time to read books. This is one, or these are methods to help you increase in your value. And of course, you've got to know also that, or you've got to give time for all of this to mature and to grow. If you plant a mango tree today, it doesn't immediately bear fruit. It takes time to grow. There's a mango plant that I planted about 2 years ago in my compound. This is about the third year. It's not fruiting yet, but it's a good mango tree. I know that. It's a good mango tree. Unlike the pawpaw tree or papaya, wherever you are, you may define as such, which grows shortly, quickly, rapidly, it bears fruit. It doesn't last long as a tree. It doesn't last long. So you must give time for everything to develop. So these are some ways, all right, in which you must learn to develop or become a person of value. Again, you must know your self-worth. Your self-worth. Do not be ashamed of your background. Do not be ashamed of your color. Do not be ashamed of your marital or educational status if you want to be a person of value. A number of us were raised by parents who were illiterate, but gladly we have learned to outgrow those backgrounds. And you know, that reminds me of a story when I was in secondary school. When I was sent to secondary school, the first year or first 2 years, I constantly lied that that my dad was a senior officer in the Nigerian Air Force. And on one occasion, someone asked me, and I said, no, my dad is a flight sergeant, who is a flight sergeant in the Nigerian Air Force, but that he was actually a wing commander, and there were some issues, and then he was demoted down to being a flight sergeant. And while I was sharing that story, Senior Olushola, I will not forget that name, 30 years after, Senior Olusola was quietly listening to the story. And when I finished the story, he then asked, how could your father have been demoted from being a wing commander down to flight sergeant? And he didn't leave the Air Force? And I said, no. He said, well, it was strange to him. It will never happen. And of course, being my senior, I didn't want to debate with him. But you know what? He was right. And he knew it because his father then was a group captain in the Nigerian Air Force. And I didn't know. I had lied. And there I was, caught and trapped by my senior, telling me of a story that could never have been impossible. Why did I share that story then? Of course, I was ashamed of my background. I thought my background was too limited. But eventually, I've learned to even appreciate the fact that I was raised by a man who retired from the Nigerian Air Force as a master warrant officer. He trained all 5 of his children through school, even though he wasn't educated or isn't educated. So, for you to be a person of value, you must know your self-worth, you must embrace your self-worth. For you to specialize, I'll give a quote and perhaps round up at that stage. Ralph Waldo Emerson says this: if a man can write a book, preach a better sermon, or make a better mousetrap than his neighbor, even if he builds his house in the wood, the world will make a beaten path to his door. Once you specialize and develop anything good, no matter how far you are from the world will seek and knock at your door. The world will seek at you. So I encourage you, just like Martin Luther King Jr. would say, if you set out to be a street sweeper, sweep streets like Michelangelo. Sweep streets like Michelangelo were painted paintings. Like Beethoven composed music. Sweep streets like Shakespeare wrote poetry. Sweep streets so well that all the host of heaven and earth will have to pause to say, here lived a street sweeper who swept his job very well. That quote is from Martin Luther King Jr. Pursue excellence. Take steps to pursue excellence. And I tell you, in no distant time, you will be a person of value, and the world will seek after you. Thank you, friends, for the time spent with you, and thank you for the comments that have been sent across in the course of this broadcast. Again, I apologize for the break that we had in between these. I do not know what transpired, but thankfully I was able to rectify it, and we continued with the broadcast. I encourage you to go back from the start, do some listening of this, and see how it will help in improving your life. See you next week, Wednesday, as Born to Lead presents another topic of discussion with you. Cheers and have a good weekend. Bye.